It was a chilly autumn evening when I first sensed that something was wrong. Claire, my wife of 7 years, had gone out with her friends, or so she claimed, leaving me at home with a bottle of wine and an old film to keep me company. After so many years together, I knew her well, the way she spoke, how she moved, the small things she did without thinking. That night, something felt off. Her voice over the phone was unusually cheerful, her laughter unnatural, exaggerated. I tried to dismiss the feeling, telling myself not to jump to conclusions. She walked in just past midnight, laughing like a teenager sneaking home after curfew. Her face was flushed, her hair slightly messy, and a scent clung to her, something masculine and unfamiliar. My gut twisted, but I greeted her with a smile, pretending everything was fine. She collapsed onto the couch with a carefree grin and kicked off her shoes. "You're in a good mood," I remarked, putting down my wine glass. "It was such a fun night," she replied in a sing-song tone, almost giddy. "Just the girls, drinks and laughs. Nothing wild." I nodded, studying her closely, saying nothing more. Throughout the evening, she avoided looking me in the eyes and clung to her phone like it was a lifeline. My instincts whispered the truth, but I kept my suspicions to myself. I wasn't ready for confrontation. Not yet. I decided to observe instead, to wait. Trust had always been the bedrock of our marriage, or at least, that's what I had believed. The next morning, Claire was in unusually high spirits, humming as she moved about the kitchen. Her phone buzzed constantly, but she ignored it. When she stepped out of the room, I gave in to temptation. My heart raced as I picked up her phone and unlocked it. We'd always known each other's passcodes, a sign of trust that now felt like a cruel joke. The messages told the whole story. Asterisk last night was amazing, asterisk read one. Asterisk I still feel your touch. Asterisk my chest tightened as I scrolled through a stream of texts from someone saved under the initial M. Photos followed. Intimate, unmistakable. Claire, wrapped around a man I didn't recognize, laughing, wine glass in hand, in what was clearly a hotel room. I placed the phone back exactly where I'd found it and forced myself to stay calm. The fury would come later. What I needed now was focus. A plan. Claire returned, smiling as if nothing had happened. She handed me a plate of eggs and kissed my cheek, her expression as warm as ever. I looked at her, trying to understand how she could smile like that, how she could act so normal after everything. Over the following days, I faded into the background, silently watching, listening, putting the pieces together. It didn't take long to learn that this wasn't a single mistake. Claire and Em had been seeing each other for months, sneaking around while I lived in ignorance. Every stolen moment chipped away at what I thought we had. My anger grew, hot and steady, but I kept it hidden. Instead of confronting her, I started collecting proof, screenshots of texts, photos, even receipts she left carelessly in her handbag. A plan began to form, and with it came a dark kind of resolve. Outwardly, I was still the devoted husband. I made her favorite dishes, laughed at her stories, and even suggested a weekend getaway, just the two of us. Claire seemed almost relieved, as if my renewed attentiveness let her off the hook somehow. She didn't know I was setting the stage for something much larger. The trip was carefully planned. I booked a cabin tucked away in the mountains, quiet and beautiful. She lit up with excitement, talking non-stop about how much she needed a break. I packed everything meticulously, including the camera gear I'd recently started experimenting with. Claire didn't question a thing. That first night away was peaceful on the surface. We sipped wine beside the fire, talked about our early days together, and even shared a slow dance under the stars. But my thoughts were elsewhere, centered on what was to come. The following morning, I told her I wanted to go out early to take some photos of the landscape. I suggested she stay in and rest. Everything was falling into place. She nodded, curling deeper into the blankets while I quietly gathered my things and slipped outside. But I wasn't going to photograph the landscape. Instead, I set everything up carefully, inside the cabin. My camera, hidden just well enough, began recording moments from the perfect vantage points, collecting the proof I needed. By the time Claire finally stirred, I suggested we go for a hike, telling her I'd found a stunning trail nearby. She hesitated, unsure, but after a few moments she gave in. We wandered for hours through the trees, the sunlight breaking through the canopy above us. And for a little while, I almost let myself forget. Almost. But the past clung to me, a shadow I couldn't shake. Later, back at the cabin, Claire's phone kept buzzing. She glanced at it briefly, her face tightening with frustration. "It's just work," she mumbled, brushing it off. But I already knew the truth. That evening, I cooked her favorite meal. I kept her wine glass full, refilling it every time she set it down. She laughed easily, her guard completely lowered, unaware of what I was orchestrating. When she stepped into the bathroom, I picked up her phone from the counter. With a few quick taps, I sent a message to him, short and final: "Let's end this." Then I deleted the entire conversation. No trace left behind. By the time we returned home, she was herself again, cheerful and light. Her laughter echoed through the house like nothing had happened. But that changed quickly. When she reached into her purse, her face fell. She began frantically searching, pulling everything out in panic. "It's gone," she whispered, her voice shaking. "What is?" I asked, pretending concern. "My ring, my wedding ring," she said, eyes brimming with tears. I offered a sympathetic expression. "When did you last see it?" I don't know," she stammered. "Maybe I took it off somewhere." Of course, I had hidden it. That ring, once a symbol of our bond, was now just another piece in my plan. The next day, I set the final stage in motion. I had compiled a detailed folder, screenshots, photos, conversations, receipts, everything that documented her affair. I left it right there on the kitchen table, impossible to miss. When she found it, she turned pale. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "It's what you've been keeping from me," I said. "The truth." She tried to talk, to spin explanations, but I cut her off with a raised hand. "I don't want to hear it. I want you to leave." She broke down then, pleading, crying. "We can fix this," she begged. "I'll do anything." "It's too late," I replied, my voice as cold as I felt. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." I'd already met with a lawyer. Everything was in place. With the evidence I'd collected, the divorce would go smoothly and decisively in my favor. The house, the car, the finances, all secure. Claire never saw it coming. As she packed her things and walked out of our home, tears streaming down her face, I didn't feel pity. I felt justified. She'd broken our vows, destroyed what we had. This was simply the consequence. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding. My life, once cracked by betrayal, slowly took form again. Claire, meanwhile, faced the fallout. The man she cheated with vanished. Our mutual friends drifted away from her, most of them choosing to stand by me once they understood what had happened. She lost everything. One evening, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey in hand, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The pain was still there, less sharp, but present. Yet, alongside it was something else. A quiet victory. I had taken back control. I refused to let her betrayal define me. Her laughter no longer haunted me. It had been replaced by something stronger, my own. The sound of someone who had survived, who had endured and risen. A laugh born not of cruelty, but of freedom, of strength, and the quiet satisfaction of justice served.